Good evening, everybody. My name is Sam Mostyn. I have the absolute privilege of serving as the President of Australian Volunteers International, and I am your MC for this evening.
I thought I'd bring the clipsticks, Paul, just to make you happy tonight. Woman Joker Kundi Bik. Could I give everyone to say Woman Joker? In my rural language, that means welcome to my ancestors' country. I'd like to acknowledge and pay my respects to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that we may have here tonight, emerging, past and present, but all elders here, because we're all elders of our own community. So we within the Wurundjeri, we pay our respects to all elders.
So we have a wonderful night for you. We're on a fairly tight time frame, but we're going to hear from some fantastic speakers. And I'm so delighted that we have the relatively new Minister for the Portfolio joining us this evening, and I'd like to introduce her now.
Thank you very much for the invitation to be here. Can I first of all acknowledge the absolutely extraordinary work that Australian volunteers and networks have done over so many years. Volunteers have always been and will always be an absolutely fundamental part of our development program in Australia. Can I also congratulate AVI on the success of bringing together a series of volunteer agencies under one banner. I don't imagine that the last 10 months have been particularly easy, but can I acknowledge the fantastic contribution of 65 years, and tonight is a celebration of those 65 years and we're celebrating them together. It's a remarkable achievement, and I think it builds an extraordinary strong foundation for what we're going to do over the next 5 years or the next 65 years. Australian governments have been very proud to have worked with Australian volunteers in our aid and development projects in developing countries over the last however many years. But we could not have achieved half of the outcomes that we have achieved without the support of organisations like AVI. And it's through the dedication of our volunteers in Australia that we as a country have built a reputation as being an extraordinary, compassionate and generous nation. But I think Australia actually gains way more than just the reputational benefits that come from volunteers. Volunteers bring back to Australia valuable knowledge and insights about the region. They build a workforce and they enhance the cultural understanding of communities offshore. Volunteers develop meaningful and long-term personal connections with the communities in which you serve, and you obviously build the strength and diversity of Australia's connections to the rest of the world. So the Australian Government is very pleased to be committed to supporting Australian volunteers to work with local organisations and governments in partner countries to promote social and economic development. International volunteering is something that is such an important foundation of everything we do. It's part of our soul, it's part of our culture, and it's part of our commitment to being a responsible member of this globe.
Now I'd like to introduce John Thwaites, who's going to speak to us about a range of issues, but mainly really rooted in sustainability. So please make welcome John Thwaites.
When we were growing up, we were taught that the Aboriginal people were hunters and collectors, gatherers, whereas in fact they were cultivating the land and managing the land using plant species which very possibly could be the solution to many of our challenges in sustainability. And so I think there's a lot to learn there as we aspire to sustainability. But look, I've been asked tonight to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, and it is just over 3 years ago that all the countries of the world committed at the United Nations to these aspirational goals for us to achieve by 2030. And just 2 months after that, all the countries signed up to the Paris Climate Agreement. It really was an incredible year, 2015, for world diplomacy. And when you look around some of the things that are happening in the world today, you have to say, was this a moment of madness that countries and leaders actually got together with such a positive aspirational agenda, which makes it even more important for us to grab it and hold it and implement it. And I think we should also acknowledge that, yes, there are a lot of bad things happening in the world, but the Sustainable Development Goals are a fantastic example of good things where countries can come together and agree that we do want a world of peace, we want a world of economic growth, but we want that economic growth to be fair and environmentally sustainable. And that is what these Sustainable Development Goals deliver.
Now, AVI has had a remarkable year, and I'd like to acknowledge and celebrate the work of Paul Bird and his team. They've done a remarkable amount of work this year behind the scenes. As the Minister has acknowledged, it's involved a lot of hard work, so congratulations, Paul, to you and your team. The board has played its role in supporting Paul and the team, and I'm delighted that now it's the turn of the Chair of AVI, Kathy Townsend, to address you and tell you a bit about the year that we've just lived through. She has been a wonderful chair for AVI, and so I welcome her to the stage to tell you a little about the year that AVI has had.
It seems like every year I get up here and say, wow, we've had a huge year, and I feel like I'm going to have to say it again. Only this year, I have to say, we've instead of saying we're about to start a million things, we can talk about some of the things we've actually achieved. We had just been named as the managing contractor, along with consortium partners Cardno Emerging Markets and the Whitelam Group, to operate the Australian Government's Australian Volunteers Program. Now, working really closely with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, this program is now in full swing. We've completed 12 months almost of the program, seeing highly skilled and committed Australians working hand in hand with colleagues across the region to build capacity in partner organisations. We're also running a number of other innovative programs with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. One you've just seen there, which the Minister also mentioned, the Sustainable Tourism Hub in Myanmar. We've also expanded our mentoring program with teacher trainers in Timor-Leste, which supports the establishment of a teacher training unit within the Department of Education as part of, under the umbrella of DFAT's Partnership for Human Development. We're also, as the Minister mentioned, working on developing and managing a new child safe hub. This program capitalises on AVI's depth of experience in child safeguarding and international volunteering to support system change in Asia and the Pacific. This year, 200 university students have gained incredible experience working on development projects in India, Cambodia, Vietnam and Indonesia. All up this year, this calendar year of 2017-18, AVI has managed to deploy 1,200 Australians overseas, which is a record number. I have to say, I work with a lot of organisations in my day job and a lot of companies and different kinds of organisations, and I have to say that the talent and the commitment and the capacity of the staff at AVI is really extraordinary.